Okay. Yes, exactly. What is happening? You're muted. You're
Huh?
muted. No, you're back.
I'm back. Okay, there I am. Hey.
I was sitting here watching the countdown, and it's like, okay, 15 seconds. It's like watching a lot of the recent SpaceX launches, right? It gets down to 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden, everything just stops.
Exactly.
That's what the show was like today.
I'm bringing the excitement to the show.
You're bringing the excitement, and based on some of the news that we're going to be talking about, this probably sets it up good because we see people doing things that the other people are doing, and it makes no sense why they're doing it. We'll talk about that in a minute. By the way, if you don't know who we are, my name is Darren. This is Victor. We are the podcast hosts of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. And it comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, we do this 1 hour-ish live show. It may be a little shorter today. Just talking about the things that we've done during the week or have seen. And today is one of those weird days. By the way, did you listen to the episode this week, Victor?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Actually,
with
I did.
Alan, right?
Yes. It's a very good episode.
Yeah. It was an Alan, if you're watching this later on, thanks for coming on with us. It was quite interesting to see a company that's basically going from the ground up, which isn't that big of a deal. That doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it's in mortgage services, and they're a complete .NET shop. And it's just an interesting way of how they're approaching making the move to Kubernetes. Right? I mean, I thought.
Yeah, and I mean it's also kind of reality. They're like most companies are not on latest and greatest and what's not, and what they're doing right now, the way how they're trying to catch up. And I'm choosing my words. It's catching up, really. It's impressive, right?
Yeah. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that. The link for that is right down here below us. Okay. Let's get into... Oh, before we get into anything else, everybody has their drink. This is 1 week before Christmas. There's my lime. You have Red Bull. So that means you still have a lot of work to do today if you're still on Red Bull.
I'm just starting, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cheers to everybody.
It will come around midnight.
Oh, okay. Midnight, I see the back of my eyelids, and have seen them for about 3 hours at that point. I can't stay up late anymore. It's just not my thing. Anyway, let me grab the notes here. So, at first, the first part of these things, so reInvent, AWS reInvent finishes today after 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's insane.
But wasn't Google Next or whatever theirs? Wasn't it like 9 weeks? It
Really?
wasn't. It was sometime this year. Yeah, I thought it was like multiple weeks.
Okay.
Anyway, so this first bit of news is AWS announcing managed services for both Prometheus and Grafana.
Amazing.
It's amazing, but they still don't have EKS with cluster autoscaler already built in.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I probably
It's
expressed
minor.
myself. Let me rephrase what I'm saying. It's not impressive that they're putting Prometheus. Actually, that's not Prometheus. Let's start with that, right? And that's important part of the story. They're not giving you Prometheus. They're giving you what matters, and that's what matters is PromQL, Prometheus query language, and Prometheus API. And this is important part, not necessarily in the context of AWS, is that I ultimately don't care whether it's Prometheus or XYZ running. What I do care is that my applications are using this interface to query data. I want you to give me that interface, right? It could be gremlins behind that interface, digging the data and giving it to me, right?
Yep.
And I like those standardizations, just like databases, right? If you say I'm inventing now Postgres database, I don't really care whether it's Postgres. What I do care is that my application is using Postgres syntax and this and that to to operate with the database. Whether you build your own, I don't care anymore at that point.
And really, I mean, there's been companies doing it in the past, but when AWS published their API specs for interacting with S3, there has been a whole cottage industry of people that have created S3 compatible layers that you can just, hey, if you're going to S3 now and you want to come to us, you don't have to change anything. Just change where you're pointing. That's it.
Exactly. S3 became a standard in a way for those types of things. And PromQL is a standard today for querying metrics. And also Prometheus Prometheus format for metrics would be a second standard.
Yep. So now the one thing that's a little bit different for Grafana is it is in preview. So it looked like PromQL is, well, it's also preview. They didn't call it out in the stack. And it's very low blast radius. It's East 1, East 2, West 2, I think it's EU1 and EU2. But still, now, why would I want to, if I'm running in AWS, other than this being preview, if I'm running in AWS, why would I not want to use this? Why would I want to install this and self-manage it?
If you exclude the price from the equation, there is no reason why I wouldn't use that.
Yeah.
Right, and you have to use, and that's the reality of Kubernetes. You cannot not use Prometheus. You cannot not use it. Istio will assume that you have Prometheus. Flagger will assume that you have Prometheus. Argo rollouts, everybody assumes that you have Prometheus.
Right. This is interesting. I like how they're counting their samples, 2 billion samples. And then 50 billion, but this is what's interesting is the next 50 billion is 32.
I'm ignoring prices with major cloud vendors anymore because there is no way on earth that anybody will calculate price for anything until you're using it for a few months.
Yeah.
It's absolutely impossible. And the other day, I spent some time with Linode. And I liked it precisely because of the pricing. Not because it's cheap or expensive or any of those two, but you create a Kubernetes cluster with everything that Kubernetes cluster needs, and it says this is how much it costs, period.
Yep. That's
no nice. Hidden cost. Not like this is, like in AWS, this is how much EKS is costing, but you need to add to that the nodes, and you need to add to that the traffic, inbound,
and
outbound,
storage.
Whatever, and storage, and what's not. And basically, you have no idea how expensive or cheap it is. But I'm wondering whether that's by design or just simply internal complexity that cannot be overcome.
I am going to lean towards the latter. Because AWS has always been, when things first come out, they have been building blocks. And it's hard to have... unlike the other services they have, maybe like Elasticsearch, even though there's a little bit of breakage there, or SageMaker, pricing there is a little more straightforward. But since they didn't really have truly managed EKS, you and I won't get to that argument people argue with about, but it's not managed EKS. It is managed control, right? And that's a lot. Let's see if he gets back. Anyway, this is going to be an interesting show already. Let me get him added back in here. There he is. Okay. This is weird. Knock on some wood. Are you muted again?
No.
So
weird happening with StreamYard. Anyways.
Yeah, it's something weird happening with StreamYard. And that's fine. Okay. So we're assuming we're back. Vladislav, if you're still here. Of course, all of our buffering's probably toast right now too. So I'm assuming we're back. So we'll keep going. So this looks promising. Does Azure have a competing? remember? You asked Google. I need to. Okay, so Victor dropped off again. We'll come back to Victor in just a moment. Okay. Let me get him spun back up. I wonder if somebody want to check the status of Google? Here, in fact, I'm going to do that real quick. GCP status. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything weird going on here. Cloud networking, when was that? That was the 15th. Today's the 18th. So everything's showing green. Okay. No, not it. All right, let me add him back in. Okay, now you're back. Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
I reduced the resolution of my video. Maybe that was the issue.
I don't know. That's because I was getting booted too, so we'll see. All right. Anyway, Prometheus Grafana hosted service from, or managed service from. Okay. Interesting. So let me make sure it's not a.
That's decently fast.
Well, that's my down, but let me check my up here. Yeah, I got 13 up today, so it should be fine. As everybody looks at my IPv6 address. Doesn't matter, it's all blocked anyway. Okay, so anyway, let's move on. Maybe that's what, maybe StreamYard doesn't like us talking about that. Okay, next. Okay, AWS also announced CloudShell this week. Now this is where it gets weird, because Google has had this since day zero, probably.
If I would be AWS, I would not really announce it. I would just kind of like
It's just there.
let it start existing without announcements. To me, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that big AWS had to wait so long to have something like that.
Yeah. Now, although we're talking about this right now, and we're going to move on from this because I imagine most everybody understands what CloudShell is. If you don't, basically, if you go into your console through the UI, you can crank up a shell. You've been able to do that in GCP forever. Now you'll be able to do that in AWS. Fine. Right? That's great. But keep this in mind. This is AWS going towards GCP. In a few moments, we're going to see something happen the other direction. That's the reason why I'm saying it. Today is a really topsy-turvy day. EC2 Image Builder now also builds not only VMs, but container images. What the heck?
I mean, why not? Again, a bit late, but why not?
Why not? Yeah, it's...
I mean, that builder is a ridiculous service that I was never happy with. No, wait, is that the code build? Code build? No, that's a image build. Okay, for VM images. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of the reason why this would make sense is because if I'm pushing to ECR, I'm not going across any kind of distance, right? If I was building locally and then pushing to ECR, this is the only reason why it just keeps things closer. That's a stretch.
That's one of the things that I'm very surprised with the AWS. AWS is not really working seriously on the tooling to build stuff. There is that code build, which is silly at best.
Well, it's like GitHub Actions and Travis, and it's lightweight if you've never used code build. I personally like code build.
I mean, you like it as long as you figure out which VM to use and you ignore the existence that we are living in the era of containers and so on and so forth. I think it would be a stretch to say like Travis. I think it's far away from Travis still.
It is. But it's comparable. Let's put it this way. It's comparable to.
Fair enough.
Okay. So if you're living only in AWS and you need a better way to build images, I mean, is this the answer to, is this Canico ++? No? Why not?
No, you're not. I cannot imagine a situation in which you would, I don't know, make some changes to Dockerfile or your application, push those changes to Git, and that triggers, what would that trigger? This thing? And then what do you do for the rest of the things that you need to execute? So if that somehow seamlessly integrates with, let's say, code build, then maybe kind of behind the scenes, as in, I don't know that this is
using this,
building it.
Right.
Yeah. But that alone is, to me, significant. I don't see a real deal.
Okay.
Maybe it's for, maybe it's that idea, and I hope it's not that idea that, there is that department in a company that just kind of like builds VM images, and now we're going to give them to build container images. But even they are probably using Packer and stitching this. I mean, I cannot imagine a person, so let's say VMs, before we go into containers, I cannot imagine a person building VM images with that in the first place. No. When we have Packer already for what, like 5 years? I don't know, 10? I don't know. Right? Eternity, right? No. No.
Yeah, I would have to dig through. Well, let's see what it is. So, yeah, I don't know. It might be interesting. I don't know yet. Anyway, let's move away from AWS. I promise, no more AWS news today.
Are you sure?
No, but probably so. If you are one of the people that has received a Mac M1, some flavor, now you can get a tech preview for Docker Desktop. Have you ordered an M1 device yet?
No, I have no plans to buy anytime soon, to be honest. That's mostly because maybe if I start going on a road again, then I would think about it. But while I'm at home, no.
Yep.
And I'm jealous of people who has it, to be honest. I just cannot justify it enough for myself to buy it, given that I have beefy machines.
Right. So anyway, this just came out this week. The initial response I've seen from some people has been positive. So it's still a preview, but...
I mean, realistically, if you're talking about developers, the three things without which I cannot even consider M1 is Visual Studio Code, a decent terminal, and Docker. Without those three things, I'm not buying M1. Let me tell you that in advance.
Well, you've already contradicted yourself, but we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah. No, I'm saying... I mean, I'm not contradicting. When we get to that subject, then I don't need M1 at all. But that's in case I want a beef machine.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Do you remember I said, remember the remember AWS was moving towards GCP in one direction?
Yeah.
Yeah. GCP did the exact opposite direction. There's now a single command to build and deploy to Cloud Run. And basically it's right there. What does this remind you of?
Copilot.
Copilot.
Yeah. I readily guess things. I'm proud of myself now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You did good.
And it's a good thing. I mean, it fits, those types of services are more likely to have very light processes. So if I imagine developers just kind of like, build, push, deploy, kind of without really going through, complex steps and pipelines and this and that, those would be used for Cloud Run of ECS, the simplified container services.
Yep. So I think this fills in that hole. And I think they needed to do this, even though we think it's sort of silly. When you're first starting out, this might be the fastest way. Or if you're doing everything, as we're getting ready to lead to, and if everything you're doing is cloud-based, and you're not running anything locally at all, this is nice. Because then I'm not having to set up a CI pipeline to take care of doing all these things. I just have a single command that does the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
Now, should you have a CI pipeline? Longer conversation. We're not going to go there today.
But, it's one of those things that this is for this type of tool, this type of CLI, this is absolutely necessary, no matter whether we think it should be used or not. Kind of like the option to build it before deploying it should be there, even if 99% are not going to use it.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to be that high percentage to begin with.
Right. So I thought this was interesting. So we had AWS going towards GCP. Now we got GCP going towards AWS. And all is right in the world.
What I'm kind of curious is, and I'm asking this aloud because I don't know answer. I will need to try it out. Is if I then want to deploy, let's say that I have testing and production separate, right? Mm-hmm. I do gcloud beta run deploy as a test, and then I do the production. Is it going to rebuild it or use the same image?
I would have to think it would do a rebuild. Your video froze, but I hear you. Oh,
now I'm back now. Get used to it. Today's weird.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, at least it's consistent. Yeah, and I haven't gone through all the docs yet to figure it out. But now it's feature parity with Copilot.
I mean feature parity in a way, yes. Now
for this part of it.
Yeah, Copilot is a bit actually more feature rich from the perspective of the types of steps you can do. Now, on the other hand, Copilot is just something external to ECS that is trying to solve things that are inherently problematic in ECS, while Google Cloud Run is simply, that's how it is, the service itself. It's not a wrapper that hides the complexity of the primary interface.
Right. I was basically getting to the point of, you can give me an image, you can give me a Docker file, doesn't matter, I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah.
That's now true on both platforms, which is
exactly
cool. I didn't really have a lower for this. Of course, Kelsey, this wouldn't be another week of talking about DevOps. It used to be Gene Kim, now it's Kelsey Hightower. Serverless Vault with Cloud Run. This came out yesterday. This was a very interesting model of what he was doing, and there's a GitHub repo for this as well.
I'm embarrassed that I didn't come up with that conceptually, not the implementation. In my head, Vault is a database. that happens
Yes.
to encrypt. It is essentially a database, right?
Yeah.
Similar to etcd, just with encryption, stuff like that. I'm simplifying so people from Hashi don't get mad at me. I know it's not that simple, right? But if you're talking about serverless databases, we're talking as initial steps being those that do not have some amazingly constant, huge traffic and stuff like that, right? And if there is one, that's Vault.
Yeah.
You're not going to make thousands of requests per second to Vault.
No, you'll probably be making hundreds per second.
Hundreds is for
Would be
really,
high.
really huge operations. That would be
Right.
very high.
Yep. So there's a whole GitHub repo on this that walks you through what he did, and of course the tweet thread goes into some more stuff. He was going to reach out to Hashi and some other stuff, but very interesting. Let's see how. Hey, but
We are going towards GCR type of services being the norm. Mark my
Yes.
words. Mark this in a calendar. A few years from now, it will be a norm.
I don't even think it'll be a few years from now. I'm going to be more aggressive than you on it. I think it's about 18 months, high end.
I mean, 18 months, everybody, significant percentage of companies will be considering something like that. But, then it takes a bit of time until
To get it
we're
done.
still adopting Kubernetes type of stuff. But
Or they're
not
just
so
talking
far,
about
not
what
in
it.
the distant future.
Yeah, or it's the people. It's like, what is Kubernetes? I've never heard of, or what is Docker? There's still those conversations going on. I did see.
Any of you listening as a student, you probably don't know what the hypervisor is.
Right. I did see a tweet this week that I should have done a screen capture on. It was pretty funny. It was basically it was a job ad for a Kubernetes administrator, and on one side, it was here's the Kubernetes birth date, which is basically 6 to 7 years ago, right? It's right. We're right in that towards 7 years right now. And the job ad said, we need somebody that has 12 years of experience with Kubernetes. It's just it.
That predates even Mesos, probably.
Yes, I think it does. I think Mesos is at 9, 10 this year. Okay,
Something
good.
like that.
Patrick, I got to look it up.
Calculate because Mesos was without really containers in the beginning.
Yeah. Let's see. Mesos, the birth date was... No, they don't have the birth date on here.
Anyway,
doesn't matter.
They might get an engineer who worked on Borg
Yeah.
and claim that, hey, we just renamed
It's Kubernetes.
Which is not true, but
No, not at all. Going back to the reason why I said you had contradicted yourself. Your video that you put out this week, when we were talking about M1. If I've got a Chromebook and Chrome, do I need anything else? Need.
no,
Local
really.
to my machine.
I've been gradually increasing the, let's say, percentage of my work being from Gitpod workspaces. I did it now. I'm over 50% of everything I do. Everything I do related to code, not when I record videos, stuff like that. To workspace, and then it's amazing, absolutely amazing. The only thing I'm missing is muscle memory. That I keep pressing Command W, and that closes my tab, browser tab with everything instead of the tab in Visual Studio Code or Teia. But it's absolutely amazing, and I love I cannot express how much I love the idea. What was it? Day before yesterday, I wanted to make some changes to one of the open source repos. I pressed Gitpod, I got it up and running, made changes, made a pull request, and continued with my life.
So no local clone. So all you did was you went to your organization, you went to the repository in your organization, clicked on Gitpod.
I lied. I did fork it first. I like to always
Okay.
fork because I think it's easier for those who receive pull requests to. Like that.
So it wasn't one of your projects. It was somebody else's project.
Somebody else's project repo.
Okay.
Forked it. Gitpod. Wait for 10 seconds. Everything up and running. Did whatever I need to do. Made a pull request. Closed it. Absolutely amazing.
Are you still using the free version of Gitpod right now, or have you crossed the line where you need more?
A few days ago, they sent me email that they gave me some special.
Okay.
I'm privileged now, but there is I think it's 500 hours a month, if I'm not mistaken, with the free version. It's really if you're not 100% using it all the time, it's pretty much enough. I think the pricing is at the top.
I didn't see it there, but it's probably.
You need to. There you go.
So free is 50 hours a month.
50. Sorry, what did I say? 500. 50 hours. That's over one full working week, right? Or probably more than quarter of the time you're spending writing code a month, more than a quarter. And if you spend more, come on, kind of like $9 a month or $25 a month even is still very cheap because it's not kind of replacing laptop. You really get productivity boost.
Why do you say that? Why do you say you get a productivity boost?
Because I don't need to deal anymore with setting up the tools I need, to setting up environments. Since maybe, let's say 2 weeks ago, even Docker works inside. That was the only thing that I was missing. So I get everything I need to develop. A worst case scenario, I might need to spend maybe, I don't know, let's say 15 minutes to set up a Docker file that I want to be used for that project instead of using the default one if I need additional tools. But other than that, like for the upcoming videos that I'm preparing, I don't know, like one will be about something which I'm not going to reveal about AWS. And then when you click Gitpod, I'm using the default Docker file that they provide, which has a bunch of tools. And on top of that, my own Docker file that extends it, that installs 3 additional CLIs, makes some configuration files inside of that workspace, and connects with some tools which I'm not going to mention now, and so on and so forth. So and does that, on a click of a button later. So basically, it's kind of almost like being able to set up your laptop to have everything you need for a project on a click of a button. Now, if you always work with one project, let's say, or multiple projects that are all the same, right? Kind of, I always use Java. I never use containers. I always deploy with, and whatever the scenario is, you have, if your scenario is always exactly the same, then it might not be such a big deal, might not be such an advantage. But I think that there is increasing number of people who are not just working on one thing only. And then that capability to, basically the ability to have an environment tailored for each repository, depending on what is in that repository, is just amazing.
So let's talk about teams for just a second. Because it seems like if I have is it Gitpod YAML? Is that the file? Or
yeah, there are 2 files, .gitpod YAML and .gitpod Docker file.
Docker file. So if I've got my home, my origin repository, and everybody's forking the origin repository, or the upstream repository, let's use the right words. And I already had those 2 Gitpod files in there.
Yeah.
Their workspace is effectively managed for them.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like if you go to, so all the upcoming repos for the demos that I will use will be like that, right? Okay, so for this topic, for this thing, whatever, whether that's a book or a video or article, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You go to this repo, fork it, click Gitpod, and tools, which might be 0 or 75, will be pre-installed for you. The configurations will be created, and so on and so forth. Worst case scenario, there are some cases where you might need to add a few environment variables on Gitpod settings. Like for example, I'm working on some material related to AWS, and I want and when you click Gitpod, it will install AWS CLI and a few other things. Since it will create ECR registry, because that's the initial part of initialization script. So it's not only what is the workspace, but I'm automating also everything else you might need outside of Gitpod, right? Oh, for this access, we will need, let's say, ECR registry.
Yeah.
When you create the workspace, it will create a registry for you, right? And for that, you might need a few environment variables, like in case of AWS access key ID and secret access key, right?
Right. It's a big deal.
I'm really impressed, and I think that sometime in general I will spend some time working with similar tool. Like Octeto is also looking promising, very different. But I kind of lately my mood swings. I mean, interests are going all over the place. But later, all that focus on there is a huge focus on increasing developer productivity, which I think that somehow since the downfall of Docker, developers were somehow neglected, I think. Developers were the focus with the emergence of Docker, and then Kubernetes took over all the spotlights. And I think that with Kubernetes taking over from Docker, developers were kind of put into secondary phase in a way, or not phase, plane. And now I have the impression that we are going back from business perspective into focusing on developers. How can we make their life easier? And even Docker as a company, right? They're focusing again on developers. They're dropping schedulers and this and that, focusing on developers. Gitpod is also developer focused. What is the name? GitHub Code Spaces, again, similar thing like Gitpod, very focused on developers. There are many other examples, of course, but I like being a developer.
So does Gitpod have like code spaces to where you could do shared or like
yes.
pair programming? Does it have that?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I can send you the link from my workspace, and you would be basically almost like sharing screen with me. Not sharing screen. That would be too simple, but we all see, we can work on the same code. We are both hooked into the same container. It's behind the scenes, it's really a container.
So all I would need is a voice line, and then I have the link, and that's it. I don't need Zoom. I don't need any of the other big screen sharing things.
Exactly.
That's huge.
And imagine also for code reviews. Instead of doing it kind of asynchronously, we can review the code and actually make the changes, during the review process, make the changes directly together maybe, right? Instead of you write a comment, I respond next day. What did you mean by that, and stuff like that.
So are you saying we're moving back to synchronous from async?
No. I mean, human communication it will have to be partly always sync, right? Like you and me are talking right now. Right? I don't think that we will ever move to completely Slack-based approach, or that we should. It's very, very impressive. I'm very impressed. That's my shiny toy. Now, I will change. By January, I will say it's bad. Yeah.
No, you can't say that. Again, we've called this out too. You can self-host as well.
Exactly. For larger companies, you probably don't want to keep everything on their servers and stuff like that, including your source code. That is most likely a big no-no. But hey, you can self-host, and you can self-host it for free. And it's open source. It's unlimited use and all those things. Now, if you want additional features, you pay money, but there is nothing wrong with that. If you get decently good open source project and you want more, you finance that open source project by paying to that project.
Yeah. All right. So that's Gitpod.
I'm really curious what will happen with code spaces once it exits private beta, because I really like Gitpod, but it's Microsoft. They have the capacity to kick anybody out of business if they feel that.
Well, it's going to be, but it's so Gitpod is based on Thea, right?
And Visual Thea is default. You can switch to Visual Studio Code if you want to, and additional ones are coming. There will be more. Yeah. To be honest, I don't notice a difference between Thea and Visual Studio Code. I would not even waste my time allowing people to switch from one to another. But hey, you can do that.
Yeah. Vladislav, thank you for being polite. I'll go ahead and put it up here. He has 50 openings, 50.
That's impressive. I mean,
especially now.
I know the size of your company and more or less, and 50 more people. That means that your business is amazing, and that's very impressive. Well done.
So yes, you're allowed to spam here, and if you...
We are spamming for an hour already, so why
for real.
I think that Darin just got disconnected. Left me hanging over here. Let me check.
That was me.
Oh,
it was me.
You're back.
That was a mouse swipe that went left. I swiped left instead of right.
Darin, are you going left now?
I don't even understand the context of that, so I am not answering. So for Vladislav, so down in the comments of this, go ahead and add a comment with wherever you want to send people to, and I'll make sure that it stays and doesn't get spam collected. That way it's there and you'll have a link back to whatever the list is. So that's completely okay. And I can even add it to the show notes. If you add it as a comment, I can lift it from the comment. Thanks. So we're a week from Christmas. Let's make sure I don't blow up again here. What's the plan? By the way, if you haven't joined up the Slack channel yet, please, or the Slack Workspace. I don't know why I keep calling it a Slack channel. It's a Slack Workspace.
Yeah.
Are we going to call it Salesforce Workspace soon? They'll keep the brand, I think. They won't mess with the brand. They typically keep the brand. I know they've rebranded a few things. But we're a week from Christmas. Are we going to do this next week? I'm going to be home. I know I'm going to be home Christmas Day at this point, unless something changes.
I'm in for it. I don't know what day is.
Because that'll be it's next Friday. It's next Friday.
And Friday is what, 24th, 25th?
25th.
I'm fine. Yeah,
Christmas Day is. So we may or may not, depending on what my schedule might change, but I should be home next week because we're starting to lock in everything. By that time, you'll be ready to get away from family, correct? If we do it at the same time, it'll be 7 p.m. your time, so
yeah,
you'll need a quick hour break.
Yeah, no. The big deal is, I think, in our case, 23rd to 24th. That's when presents and stuff like that.
Right.
You know? The rest is just a day.
Yeah. But see, you still have a little kid at home. I don't.
I know. You can think of this as me escaping the kid for a while.
Or the kid escaping from you, whichever the case may be, right?
Okay.
So next week, I actually have a live stream going on, and I am going to go ahead and talk about the day job just for a second. If you go over to CloudBees TV, it's not posted yet. It'll be posted on Monday. I'm doing a live stream with one of the plugin developers, the guy actually that maintains the Prometheus plugin. Funny enough.
Nice.
And we're going to go through how he maintains it, what his setup is. If you're into Jenkins at all, and you ever thought, maybe I want to write a plugin, you might want to join us on. I believe it's going to be Tuesday. I don't know exactly. Actually, I do know what time it is. I think it's Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, and it would be super late Europe time. So I guess that would be 6 p.m. Europe time, or 10 p.m. Europe time. So, if you're around, and we're doing it live on YouTube. So if not, you can go and follow up on CloudBees TV is the handle over there, and it'll be interesting. It's with one of the new Jenkins board members too, Jenkins project board members.
Nice.
So Marky, right? Have you met Marky before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Marky. I'm going to do that, and then we're going to meet with some other. So we're starting to do a lot more day job type stuff over on the Jenkins side for me. Do you have anything next week, or are you all shutting down on the day job side?
No,
It's all quiet.
I'm enforcing my own rule. I know that I have nothing scheduled for tomorrow beyond the day in advance.
Okay. You don't know.
I have no idea.
Okay.
My brain cannot keep up.
That's fine. I didn't know if you had schedules or not. So you see. Okay, we haven't had this conversation before. Do you have people that schedule you to go do things?
They depends. I mean, if it's with one of the customers or some kind of joint something effort, company-wide, then yes, kind of. Victor, can you want to jump in and stuff like that? But the rest of things, I assume that you're asking about public-facing.
Yeah,
things.
public stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's still mostly me.
Okay.
I mean, people contact me and ask me, and I say yes. I never say no.
Always say yes.
Always say yes. That's like the Yes Man movie, right?
Yeah. Actually, I saw part of it. I never saw the whole thing. Probably need to do that. What is everybody else planning on doing next week? Are you already on vacation? Is like today your last day, or was today your last day of work until 2021? No, not you. I'm talking about everybody else that's here with us live today. I'm working. I'm not other than taking just the standard days off. I got plenty to do. So never a lack of things to do. Things
My
to learn.
problem with kind of 1 week in my case is the maximum I allow myself to take off from anything ever. Otherwise, more than a week means that my life becomes nightmare when I come back.
Really?
Yeah, because the number of days I'm off work, whatever the work is the number of days I need to recuperate, because all those things happening are waiting for me in a way, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Stefan. Yep.
I've done that many years. I remember one year, because used to, back in the days to where you could go to a restaurant to eat, I would go to a little, it's called, in the US, it's called Panera Bread. It's just a little place. And I would go there on New Year's Day, take a notebook, and just sort of get some stuff lined up, take a laptop and do some work. And I'm sitting there on New Year's Day, and all of a sudden, I'm getting pinged like crazy. It's like all these things are failing. For the client I was working for at the time, it's like one of their biggest days of the year. I'm going, what's going on? And it's like, oh yeah, the license expired. I went, yeah, but our license is good through like August. Well, no, you have to change your license on before January 1st. I went, you never told us that. So it was like we were scrambling, trying to get things fixed. And it was like, we ended up re-implementing something like in a day. Something that we'd worked on for like 2 or 3 months. We re-implemented it that day. I got one other guy on the line and we were going at it. So, Stefan, I've been there. I'm thankful I'm not there this year. Hopefully it's going to be quiet.
Now it's slightly less annoying, I feel that, because at least most of us are home. I'm talking general, not for New Year's Eve only, right? So kind of like that might be a bit less of a burden, but I remember before kind of, hey, You need to be, I don't know, like, I think it was in my case 15 minutes away from computer.
Yep.
So that means that I cannot go anything except walk around the block. No cinema, for example, no parties, no dinners, none of those things.
It was sort of like being a flight attendant. You had to be within a certain amount of time from the airport to go do something. So the same, you had to stay within 15 minutes of your laptop in case something happened. It's a miserable way to live. I'm sorry.
I mean,
what's worse though? Go ahead. Then I'll tell my story again.
In my case, it was a long time ago, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, something like that. Anyways, at that time, and I don't know how it's in other companies, that was assumed to be part of your job, right? Kind of besides the 8 hours in the office, kind of. And that was a miserable exploitation of people.
Yeah.
I guess that probably now most people, at least, I mean, if you get like, let's say, double the daily rate for being on call and triple if it's holiday, which to me does not sound exaggerated, to be honest.
That's about right.
Double to be at night on call and triple for holidays. Okay, then at least you know that you're getting something out of it.
But if you're salaried,
just expected,
if you're salaried and it's expected, it's like my scenario was I was at a startup and I was on call 24/7 for 4 years. And even I was at one of the early reinvents and stuff went completely sideways. And I was out on the show floor and grabbed my laptop and tethered up to my phone because the Wi-Fi wasn't working. And, got the things fixed. And and the CTO was with me. I mean, we were at reInvent together. And he says, "Are we okay?" And I went, "Well, we'll be okay." I went, it'll take a little while for it to sort of settle back down. I don't miss those days at all. There's parts of me would be like, "Oh yeah, it'd be great to do that a little again," and then I just remind myself of those types of things. It's like, no, I don't want to do that again.
I mean, somebody has to, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, very small percentage of people at least, but somebody has to.
Somebody has to at least be around.
I wouldn't want to receive a response from Google or Azure or AWS. Hey, you know what? It's New Year's Eve. If things go down.
Yeah. Officially mine it was, but that's spam. Right, exactly. Spam always happens. Spam happens. What else? Anything else big going on? It was a pretty quiet week, right, this week?
Yeah, and the next week, at least in my case, will be relatively quiet. Quiet from stress from the things that don't go public, which we all have. So I think that now it's almost like semi-vacations until January.
Yep. Which means we can get a lot of work done.
Oh, yeah.
Don't have
big plans for next week's for the YouTube channel.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I mean, big plans. I think that I think that I will be releasing twice a week for a few weeks. I have a lot of subjects lined up that I never had time to work on, and now it's holidays. And now normal people enjoy holidays. I will just do different type of work.
So you'll do a video, go play a video game. Do a video, go play a video game.
Oh, Cyberpunk 2077, baby.
What are you playing that on? Stadia?
You probably don't know what it is, huh?
No, I do know what it is, and I noticed that it's already been pulled by the Sony store. I saw that today.
Because it doesn't work with old hardware. It needs.
Let that be a lesson. Don't write software because people have their hardware. I can't pull it up here. My most recent personal MacBook is a 2011 MacBook Air, 4 gig of RAM. I can't run a whole lot of stuff on that.
But it's also hard because on one hand you need to make especially for gaming, something competitive. So it cannot be, Pac-Man when we're talking about AAA games. And the bigger problem is that when you start working on a game, typically it takes 4, even 5 years between the beginning and until that is released. So you need to really if you and me now, and we have 100 millions to invest and start a gaming company, start a game, what would you target, right? You don't target today's hardware.
No, you shouldn't, right?
Exactly. But you don't know really where the hardware will be 5 years from now.
Yeah. Did they mess up on not targeting the PS4 as a baseline?
I mean, they messed up in many ways. There are also a ton of bugs, and then many people are unhappy and all those things. To me, the Cyberpunk, because it's the probably most anticipated game of this year, and really realistically works on PCs, which many people are really not so into it, that they build custom PCs that do randomly amazing stuff. It works on next-gen consoles, which most people could not get their hands on because they're out of stock, PS5 and Xbox, whatever. And here comes kind of like the point. It works on cloud. I don't have a hardware anymore for gaming. I use Stadia.
And that's it. That's all you use. I mean, you've got the... What is that I keep forgetting the local console that you have, like the big old game console.
I have that. That's kind of for the 80s games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for your current gaming, it's all cloud-based.
Yeah, cloud-based, exactly. And I see no reason to buy hardware anymore. Now, somebody will tell me that it's going to be slightly better or slightly worse in PS5, but I'm not that much into it that I want that hassle from buying hardware, which is going to be outdated in a year or two, and life cycle of PlayStation, for example, is like 5 years.
I don't know.
Anyway, I don't like the idea of buying hardware if I don't have to. The same thing is I'm not going to buy iPad for listening to music anymore.
No,
what's the name? iPad, I'm confused.
iPod.
Something.
iPod,
right? Yeah.
I do need to get a new phone, though. Mine's super old now. Battery doesn't charge. But let this be a cautionary tale. Should you be buying hardware?
Now,
certain use cases, maybe.
I have like 500 megabits stable on a bad day. So I'm aware that many people don't have that.
Yeah. What is your up? You've got 500 down. What's your up?
Same.
You got 5. Oh, so you're symmetric. Okay. So you're fiber?
I mean, give or take, yes, fiber.
Oh, okay.
Fiber, and I have a network mesh around the house.
Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on that. I have Orbi, which is insanely expensive. I would never buy it again.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just as good. It's not really better than Google Wi-Fi or whatever they call it, which is half of the price. So I wouldn't buy it again. But having service mesh that you have good connection anywhere in your house is... if I would have to choose between super expensive laptop and standard router that kind of has mixed signals depending on where I am in the house,
right,
I would go with service mesh and then save on laptop.
On laptop, yeah.
So it's service mesh, network mesh.
Network mesh. I was following. Yeah, that's just what we do. Which one do you have? The Google one or the?
Oh no! Here I have Orbi.
We have Orbi. Oh, so Orbi's even your mesh too.
Yeah, no, that's the only.
It's the whole thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, one goes into router with a cable, and the rest is Wi-Fi all across.
Okay. All right. Oh man, we're already at the top of the hour. To everybody I didn't think it would work this way today, but it did. To everyone that's here with us live, thanks for hanging out with us for a good part of this year. We didn't know what it would happen, and it's been fun. At least it's usually a step away from what's going on. And our plan is to keep doing these into the new year.
Yeah.
Right? If nothing else, it helps everybody out. It helps us out because we get to talk through some ideas. Because even though you might think we talk to each other all the time, this is probably the longest we talk to each other every week.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean, Let's be honest, before we started doing those things together, we talked mostly when on conferences because that's where we would meet.
Yeah. And that was rare because I rarely went to conferences. So,
Huh.
all right, man. Everybody that's here, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We may or may not be here on the 25th. I have to talk to my wife.
It's like shedding your cat, no? It's like Schrodinger's cat. We might or might not be alive.
Oh, yeah, Schrodinger's cat.
We might
yes.
or might not be
Might or might not be here.
live.
I'll need to be
Not
box.
alive.
Yeah, I get it. All right. Anyway, thanks everybody. Have a great. If you celebrate Christmas, we're not going to be on Christmas morning, so have a great Merry Christmas. For everybody else, Happy Holidays, and we'll see if we see you next week or not. Maybe, maybe not.